Save my Lord of lips, my books with no words, speak to us now.
Do you believe that organ donation should be mandatory?
I do not.
You do not. Okay, so if you believe that even a dead person has the right to bodily autonomy, even if that dead person's organs could save up to 8 lives, and yet you also believe that women should be legally mandated to sacrifice their bodily autonomy in order to save the life of a fetus, by your own logic, a corpse has more right to bodily autonomy than a living, breathing woman.
Well, you imposed upon me a liberal view that I do not hold, which is that my views of abortion come from some sense of bodily autonomy. I'm not a huge autonomy guy to begin with. I don't think that I own my body. I think my body is sort of a gift, and I have obligations to my creator. The reason that I don't support mandatory organ donation is not because of some liberal conception of autonomy or something. It's because that's not what your organs are for. Your organs are for you. Your lungs are to bring oxygen to your blood. Your heart is to pump blood around your body. Your liver is to take care of what I will probably do later on at the bar after this speech.
Mamma mia!
And so on and so forth. My organs are not for you. Your organs are not for me. So you can give an organ donation, and that can be a lovely thing to do, but you aren't obligated for it because things are known largely by what they are for.
Okay. It sounded like you were just going to be anti-organ donation for a second. I was like, that's weird.
No. But I am against, going in and stealing people's organs. I think that would be quite wrong.
Stealing from a person who isn't alive, which gives them
I think
right,
desecrating bodies is pretty
more
bad,
right to their own
or
body
like
than-
digging up graves is bad too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you don't believe that withholding resources like life-saving organs, which you would die without if you have organ failure, if you don't believe that withholding resources like that means that you're killing a person, would you be pro cutting the umbilical cord rather than removing a fetus so that the fetus would no longer be able to grow without the nutrients it needs?
I think it would be wrong for a mother to kill her child. So I don't view my organs, say, as resources, as you've put it in a kind of like materialist liberal way. I kind of think of them as my organs, and I think of my body as like my body, and I think of me as a person, not just a big sack of flesh that can be chopped up for the pleasure of some liberal technocrat. Call me old-fashioned, I guess. But then you turn to this example and you say, well, okay, what about cutting the umbilical cord eventually you do cut the umbilical cord when the baby comes out, but what about cutting the umbilical cord or otherwise killing the baby? I think that would be quite wrong to do because your baby is not for your killing. Your baby is not justifying some kind of murder. That was the topic of our discussion tonight. And furthermore, a woman's womb, which is another organ that you haven't brought up, has a purpose too. And the purpose of the woman's womb is to grow a baby. And the baby is not just a clump of cells or a parasite or any other dehumanizing way that the liberals talk about it. The baby is your baby. And when mothers kill their babies, that's contrary to reason and contrary to nature.
In the recent past, you've advocated for the outright eradication of transgenderism from public life, with the claim that the supposed right of confused people to pretend to be the opposite sex necessarily infringes on your right to distinguish between men and women. I'm standing here now, a biological male, wearing a dress with a pair of leggings. Do you sincerely believe that I should be subject to punitive justice on the basis of what I'm wearing? And if so, are you willing to turn yourself in for wearing women's panties in your gay college film?
Well, I'll take those questions in order, I guess. The first one, I would encourage you to behave as a man, is what I would do, because you are a man, and I don't know how exactly you came to the point where you think you're a woman or very much would like to be a woman, But you aren't, and I don't think anyone who is affirming your delusion is helping you. I don't think that they're actually an ally of yours. I think they're lying to you, and I think it's very disrespectful, and I think it will not lead to your flourishing. I think it will only immiserate you. And so you might hate me for telling you the truth, but I think the truth will set you free. And furthermore, your masquerading as a woman does infringe on the legitimate rights of other people, the rights of women to have their own bathrooms. I don't know if you're an athlete. I'm not much of an athlete myself, but the rights of women to have their own sports leagues and the like. That is not something that you have a right to do, no matter how sincerely you believe the fantasy that you're a woman. As to that Yale thesis film, this thing dogs me. You know, back in my wayward youth, I was never a transvestite or a homosexual or anything, but I was something even more morally suspect. I was a professional actor.
Mamma mia!
And I played 200 roles, I would estimate, in my acting career. Soldiers, football players, real macho guys. But you play one half-gay guy in a Yale thesis film one time, it's all anybody wants to talk about. And by the way, I don't remember the exact wardrobe from that undergraduate thesis film, but I think it was male attire, but it was a bit risque. There's no question about that. The only further thing I will say about that Yale undergraduate thesis film, that is the most heterosexual thing that has ever been produced at Yale University. Okay?
Mamma mia!
So, in the land of the blind, I guess, the one-eyed man is king. In any case, I think your second question was a little bit more of a joke. Your first question, it seems like a sincere question, and my answer to you is sincere. I'm happy to answer any more questions you have, but I'm not going to lie to you, and I think the people who are continuing to lie to you about so basic an aspect of your nature and the rights that you have in political society are not doing you any favors at all.
So having yearned for the days when it was illegal to cross-dress in San Francisco, I'm just very curious why you're so comfortable, wearing drag in these films. It's a really silly.
Sure,
it's a
I don't know.
silly
I was an actor and I
contradiction.
wore silly costumes. I don't know what to tell you. If you have a sincere question about the issue or my stance on transgenderism or any advice that you might be seeking, I'm happy to do it. But if you merely want to say that Yale is a bit of a queer school and I was in a student film, I guess I was, and I was basically the most macho guy at that school. What does that tell you about Yale University?
Yes or no, did you enjoy being destroyed by Michael Knowles?
First, I want to start off by saying I disagree with everything you say. Black Lives Matter, stop Asian hate, and leave trans people alone. Here's my question. Why do you
What did I say about the
weaponize...
Asians? I don't think I said anything about Asians.
Listen to my question. Why do you
Okay.
weaponize religion to justify your subjective opinions?
How do you think I've done that?
You say that God says, oh, there's men, there's a woman, and just leave that as that. Like, you don't represent religion because we don't live in a country where you can be purely pure based on your religion. Like, you sin, everyone sins, if we can understand that. So trying to weaponize that against people and try to limit their rights because of what you think God said, God didn't speak to you. You don't know.
God does
you don't
speak
know
to me,
God.
and He speaks to
No,
all of us, and we
no,
can read His
no,
word in the Bible,
no,
and we can
no,
go to church.
no.
That is true. So what you're objecting to is that I've quoted the Bible, and I've said right there in the early chapters of Genesis, in the beginning God made man, both male and female created He them. And you're saying, Michael, why would you weaponize religion that way? But what have I done? All I've done is just quoted the Bible, and I'd be happy to have a conversation about 2,000 years of church history on this subject, and I'm happy to have a conversation about even pre-biblical or extra-biblical sources on it, on the hylomorphic nature of the human being. I'm happy to do that. That's not a weapon against any people. That's a weapon against falsehood. And so the only way in which I would turn religion into a weapon is against the devil, and that's what we all have to do, because religion is a habit of virtue that renders to God what He deserves. That's the meaning of the word religion. And so I'm just reading the text, and I'm practicing the faith, and I'm telling you what the faith has said for 2,000 years. And you might reject it, but I think that it's true. I think religion is true. And you might think that it's false, and you might have a different set of beliefs. But one of us is, at the very most, one of us is going to be right. And so at the very least, one of us is going to be wrong. And I just happen to be correct about this.
Mamma mia!
I can respect the confidence, but it's just purely delusion. Okay,
I don't think Christianity is delusional.
I respect religions. I respect people's rights. But trying to limit someone's rights by saying, well, I believe that God said this, so I'm going to block you from doing this, like abortion. People get raped, people get incest, and it's crazy traumatic situations. And it's very hard for a human to ask a human, oh, keep that baby because God said to. That is impossible.
Do you think it's hard to ask someone, hey, don't murder an innocent person, even if you want to, even if that would be convenient? Because that's what we're saying about
because our fundamental beliefs are different. I don't think it's murder. I think it's that thing in the baby, not the baby, but the uterus.
You just said
that
it.
Is not,
I think you just admitted that I'm right. That's called a Freudian slip, and I think you just proved the point.
Chill out. But the thing in the uterus is not a baby. That's what I was trying to say. It's just a clump of cells. It's a tumor. Okay.
It's a tumor.
And trying to be like, it's a baby. We just have fundamentally different belief systems, and I don't believe that. No, I don't think it's murder. It's not murder.
Right, but the baby unlike a tumor, say, the baby in the womb, it has the DNA of an individual human being that's different from the DNA of the mother, and the baby in the womb has all the characteristics of human life, and the baby in the womb grows at a very early stage, grows to take on the form of an individual human being, and the baby in the womb, left unmurdered, will grow into a full adult-sized human being, just like you are. So that would seem to be a difference between the baby in the womb and the cancerous tumor. So you're saying, well, I just don't believe that, but you obviously do believe that because you just admitted it because you called the baby a baby. You don't want to acknowledge that reality because it's inconvenient.